Dragon's Dogma 2 is a game I've been waiting for 10 plus years. And trust me, there's been a lot of twists and turns to get to this point in time. I would say that Dragon's Dogma 2 is a soft reboot of the franchise. Now, usually, soft reboot is something you take negatively. It has a very negative connotation to it, mostly because of Hollywood. But for the most part, I would say this is a really good game, and the sales numbers show that too. You can't talk about the history of Dragon's Dogma without Hideki Hasano. Hasano, a man known for his work on Street Fighter Alpha, Rival Schools, Power Stone, Capcom vs. SNK, and Devil May Cry. That's right, the guy who directed Devil May Cry 2, 3, 4, and 5 is the guy who directed Dragon's Dogma 1 and 2. And this is one of his crowning achievements, by the way. He's been working on this franchise since before he even touched DMC. The design document for Dragon's Dogma was created prior to 2000, before he successfully pitched a project, and it went into production in 2008. Dragon's Dogma 1 released May 2012. Dragon's Dogma 1 had a cult following, and supposedly Capcom was pleased with the sales numbers. So why haven't we seen a sequel until now? Well, they have tried before, with a game known as Deep Down. A game that was described as being similar to Capcom's own Dragon's Dogma before disappearing into nothingness, somewhere between 2013 and 2015. But while that game was falling apart behind the scenes, Capcom was making an MMO based off of Dragon's Dogma, Dragon's Dogma Online. And that has its own history. I'm not going to get into it because way more qualified people have gone into it, and I've never even played it. I didn't know about it until researching for this video. Before we can talk about the reasons I love this game, let's start with the obvious problems, like Day 1 DLC that is only there to make the game worse / easier. Then, another problem, you can't restart the game. I repeat, if you want to start a new game, you actually can't. So let's hypothetically say you're doing a video on a game, like me. Can't restart the game to capture footage of problems like the world not loading. But that's just a problem for me. But what if you don't like the character you made? Well, fuck that, go get this consumable, I guess. That's where the Art of Metamorphosis comes in. It's $2 DLC that allows you to recreate your character. Want to fast travel? Purchase a port crystal. There's another $2. The biggest criticism of Dragon's Dogma 2 is the abusive DLC, meant to improve the game. Now, let me just say this. While it's terrible, I repeat, I acknowledge that everything that everyone's complaining about is a problem and shouldn't. I repeat, shouldn't be in this game at all. It doesn't actually affect the gameplay. The Art of Metamorphosis, the book we talked about that allows you to change your character, that is something that you can easily buy using Rift Crystals. Something that's easily obtainable through gameplay, such as just participating in the multiplayer and just opening chests. You can get Rift Crystals. And when you finally beat the game, you can naturally change your character and all of their features once again. Yes, it's very stupid and inconvenient, but it can be fixed. Supposedly, as I'm writing the script, there will be an update to the game that'll allow you to restart the game without having to deal with any of this shit. So it probably won't be a big problem in the future. But we've been told that before. I saw plenty of YouTubers that I trusted and liked to watch calling this game a disappointment because of these factors. But they didn't seem to put in enough time, or give the game a fucking chance, to find out that these problems aren't actually as big of a problem as they projected it to be. It is just meant to steal money from stupid fucks. And while that's wrong, all it is ruining stupid people's experiences. It's not even making the game that much easier, to be honest. It's just a way for stupid people to be exploited, throwing their money at a problem that they can fix by just playing the fucking game. And while, yes, exploiting stupid people is a problem, it ultimately just doesn't affect gameplay. The things that do affect gameplay, though, are the fact that I bought this on PC and it runs like shit. And that's if you're lucky enough to get it to work, because when I downloaded it, expecting it to work like every other RE Engine game I've ever played, it wouldn't load any assets. By the way, this is the 5th time I've tried it, and this is what it looks like after I've fixed it up to be workable. Like I said, I couldn't restart the game to show you how bad it actually was. Now, supposedly, again, the PC version will have fixes put out. And again, like I said earlier, these companies have said that before about other games. So until you see people saying it's gotten fixed, I would recommend you don't play the PC version, or get very good at getting that refund back, or do like I have and just bought the PS5 version. The main theme of this video is going to be that Dragon's Dogma 2 is a soft reboot of Dragon's Dogma 1. Dragon's Dogma 2 is all about reinforcing, improving, bettering all the mechanics that were introduced in the original game. I mean, just look at the world map. Well, I don't know if it's actually bigger. It's definitely way more dense with content. I put at least 40 to 60 hours into this game, getting a few of the endings, even the true ending. But I still missed out on tons of side content. And I'm not talking about missing a few fetch quests and maybe a cave with a super sword inside of it. No. I'm talking about entire cities packed with side stories, not meeting entire races. Hell, 90% of my playthrough, I was missing most of the unlockable vocations. So I never even got to use one of my favorite vocations, the Magical Archer, until I got to New Game Plus. Some people will look at this as a negative. I love this stuff. And vocations are important. DG1 had 9, DG2 has 10. Taking away more of the monotonous classes and making most of the vocations very distinctive. Each class feels different. Just look at the melee options. If you've been obsessed with solo leveling recently, you could play your own Sung Jin Woo with the Thief class, with fast and deadly attacks, constantly dismantling enemies. How about a defensive sword and board style with the Fighter? Or the Guts-inspired two-handed fighting style, smashing targets in 1 or 2 blows. Then you got the ability to just straight up play Darth Maul if he fucked Virgil with this class. But what if you want to play an FPS? Here you go, play Archer. Can't aim or just love the smart pistol from Titanfall? Take Magical Archer. What flavor of magic user do you want to play as? A support mage, healing and buffing everyone around you? Or do you want to destroy everything? I love the job system of Dragon's Dogma 2. I still haven't decided if I like the more balanced approach that Dragon's Dogma 2 has, or the complete unbalanced mess that Dragon's Dogma 1 did. See, in Dragon's Dogma 1, you could just sell a random item and be rich for the rest of your playthrough. Buy explosive arrows, solo the whole game if you really want to, beat the DLC super boss with ease if you know what you're doing. Where this feels like it's intended for you to work with a party and not just solo the game by yourself and just power level to the end game. That's right, you do have a party system in this game. Your pawns. In Dragon's Dogma, you play as the Arisen, a being chosen to command the powerful multidimensional beings known as pawns. This is the multiplayer component of the Dragon's Dogma franchise. Other than you, your party is comprised completely of pawns. Your personal pawn that you create from the ground up, and 2 other pawns summoned from other Arisen's worlds, other players. The pawns can use most of the vocations that the player has at his disposal to help the party. That means you want to recruit pawns based off of your team's synergy, while also equipping and leveling your own pawn to be useful for your team and other Arisen's teams. Remember, if your pawn works well with others, he or she will be rewarded with rare resources, Rift Crystals. So you have to make them good enough to synergize with other players, or just make them look cool. And with your pawns constantly working with other people, it'll make them even more useful for you and other Arisens because they learn about how quests work. And this will help you in the long run, since your pawns will do more quests in other Arisen's worlds, helping you on your quests against more powerful monsters, even learning their weaknesses from fighting more of them more often. Which means not only are they helping you, but other Arisen can hire them and they'll be helped by their pawns. This ultimately makes the pawn system insane because your pawns learn. Because if they do quests with other Arisen, they will learn that quest, bring that information to you, and then they will bring that information to other Arisens. And since Dragon's Dogma 2 is one of those games that allows you to screw yourself, like in the original game, you can fail quests. Dragon's Dogma is something I'll term a always semi-online game because of the multiplayer systems. You're almost always playing on autosaves. Because of this, you only have one hard save, and that's when you enter an inn and sleep. Your pawn will be updated with all the things you've done and other people have done with your pawn. That includes receiving items from there. That is why there's hard saves, because it changes your gameplay every time you hard save. I did abuse this for certain quests that I wasn't exactly knowledgeable about and were more puzzle based. That's because having a very important NPC die isn't something I wanted to deal with. Especially when, in this game, unlike the first game, you can revive any NPC with your wake stones. Especially since I didn't want to waste any of my wake stones reviving NPCs. That's something you can do in this game that you couldn't do in the first. It's great that I can continue my questline with her, but it sucks that I let her die and she now knows it. Dragon's Dogma 2 is basically a remix of Dragon's Dogma 1's core story beats, just done better. Most of the major story elements are beat for beat the same story, and this is a good thing, fitting the themes of both games, with you, the Arisen, overcoming fate by having your heart stolen by a powerful dragon, and you must kill it to save you and end the cycle of destruction. But maybe, just maybe, this is all a part of said cycle, and you must stop fate at any cost. I don't want to go too far and spoil the game for anyone who hasn't played Dragon's Dogma 1 or 2, but you'll understand that Dragon's Dogma 1 had a major weakness: its story. Here, I would say it's at least understandable. Most of the cast has motives, and even with me unknowingly skipping some of their stories, I understood why they were doing things and what they wanted out of the situation. I mean, this game even answers questions I've always had since the first game, like, what is a Dragonforged? A Dragonforged is a man who was once an Arisen, but failed along his journey, thus making him a Dragon Forged, after he failed his mission to kill the dragon. Now he helps you fight to save your world, defeating your dragon. Now, I never thought I would say this because I'm used to sequels being disappointments, especially in this day and age, but Dragon's Dogma 2 is just better in almost every way, from story, gameplay, balancing, graphics, animation, world building, and especially character customization. Honestly, as long as you don't purchase it on PC as of day one, this is a must-have if you like action adventure RPG games. Just for the love of God, don't buy the DLC.